Summer is definitely here. And for most people, that might mean, schools out, barbecues and pool parties, and perhaps the occasional road trip. Now, the one thing about the road trip is you're spending a lot of time seated in the car. And for me, sometimes it's not really always about getting to the destination as fast as possible, but really enjoying the trip that I'm going on and the people that I'm taking that trip with. So, why not ditch the car and go bike packing instead? Not too different from your traditional road trip. You are still going to cover some distance, but the keyword being that you're going to go by bike instead of car. And it's an awesome opportunity to get some fresh air first and foremost, a little bit of exercise, have an adventure with your friends, and make some new memories along the way. So on today's video, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Me and three of my buds took off and we are traveling from Boston to Provincetown. We're gonna go completely self-supported. No SAG vehicle, no support stations. Everything that we need, everything that we're gonna use is basically what we're gonna carry along with us, along with a few stops along the way to replenish supplies and stuff. Now, for those of you new to the channel, hey, what it do? I'm Remy, I'm a triathlete here in the greater Boston area, and at the end of last summer, I did sustain a unfortunate shoulder injury. I ended up breaking the socket in my left shoulder and it had to be surgically repaired. I'm recovering fine, but obviously racing is not in the cards this season, and that's okay. I'm really leaning into having fun with my three sports. We're gonna do this across 2 days and be riding for maybe 6 to 7 hours a day and share that experience with y'all. So what it do? Okay, and we're back. It is 5:55 a.m. I have broken my fast. I am well caffeinated and basically packed and ready to go. We'll talk more about that a little later, but for now, I wanted to touch on the gels, what I'm going to be using for fuel during this trip. And the simple answer is I couldn't find something that would do exactly what I needed it to do. And when I did, I would need so much of it. So I decided to make my own. And this is not like a wholly Remy original idea. Shout out to Patrick Lino. Check out his channel. He has been making his own gels for long rides. And, back in May, he shared this with me. And, I went out and picked up the supplies, but haven't had a real reason to put it into action yet. So last night, I mixed it up. I'll link the recipe, as it were, as well as the pouches that I'm using to transport all of these. They say that they're designed for trail running, like if you're running with a vest or like a belt or something like that. But I'll tell you, this stuff is gonna work famously to just go in a jersey pocket. So I've got those ready. We'll try it out for the first time on this ride and see how we get on. We'll talk more about exactly what I'm packing as we hit the road and kind of compare what everybody else is packing. For now, let's get this bike on that rack, on the car, and head out to our rendezvous point so we can make it for the 7 o'clock pedals up time. Let's get moving. And we'll see a sharp contrast. We'll talk about this later, but we've got two taking backpacks. We talked about me, very minimal. It's all in my saddle, not even my saddle, in my rear pocket. And then there's this, the whole kitchen sink. I don't know, you, what are you thinking? Overpacked, underpacked?
I think it's fine. I've probably packed more, but that's because I have a backpack and I'm probably loading up a lot of support gear for you guys. So.
And the biggest obstacle that I think I've got right now, I only have my bike shoes. So we'll see how that goes. What exactly is bike packing?
Bike packing is really just going out on an adventure on your bike. It can even be a full day or more multi-day. There's no real hard definition. It's just going out on an adventure and just bringing your supplies. So multi-day adventure, you might be bringing some extra clothes or anything like that, but it's what you make of it.
Do you have to rough it in a tent, or can you have a more posh experience?
Yeah, I mean, you're able to, it's whatever you as the person going on the journey makes of it. It's your own adventures. You can decide if you want to have the more naturalistic approach.
Primitive is the word, I guess.
Primitive, I guess, get in touch with your nature. But if you're a person who wants the creature comforts, that's totally fine too.
So I mentioned earlier that I was packing super duper light, and I really truly mean it. Some of that is just knowing my own experiences of riding my bike to work and knowing what I actually need to pack, what I already had stored for me at the office, and what would be available at the hotel. So I brought one change of clothes, I brought a toothbrush, a couple of chargers, and that was really it. Chargers for my phone, for the cameras, things like that. I knew the hotel would have soap, towels, running water and all that. And 100% made the decision to just wash my kit in the shower, hand wash, scrub them, wring it out real good, then hang it out to dry. That was a tip I got watching Francis Cade, something that I also tried from a previous video when I was in Orlando, did kind of the same thing, so I knew I would be okay doing that. The other kind of feather in my cap was, again, knowing that we were still staying at a hotel and not necessarily roughing it. It was just one night, plus there's a Target right next to the hotel. So if I did absolutely positively need something, I was packing the American Express. So we were gonna be fine no matter what. But you let me know in the comments, if you were taking a bikepacking trip, which end of the spectrum would you be on? Would you be more like me, taking a more minimal approach and just taking the bare essentials? Or would you be more like Bridget and taking the just in case items as well, and a lot more of the creature comforts that you have at home? Or are you somewhere in between like Blair did and just kind of take some of those change of clothes kind of things, but still not want to have the extra weight and kind of strike that gentle balance? Let me know down in the comments. Now, I've talked about this in some previous videos about being comfortable and confident on your bike, and that's definitely going to come to practice here, because as you can see, we're leaving from the city. We do eventually make it to some country roads, but you're leaving from Boston and there's going to be some traffic, there's going to be some potholes, there's going to be a lot of stoplights, some stop and go, but once we transition and really get out of the city and hit the open road, that's when this trip really starts to come alive. Then there were some other logistics as far as our riding tactics and formation. For the most part, we went in a single line, and just to keep it simple with the narrow shoulders that we are going to encounter, it just made more sense just from number one, a safety standpoint, and number two, efficiency, because then we could kind of draft off each other. I did most of the pulling on day one and alternated with my buddy Yu, who such a strong rider and generally a great dude who did organize most of the logistics here. He is also an Ironman triathlete, so definitely strong and confident on his bike, and thought of some of the extra things that we might need, especially two of our other buds that were riding along, some things that they may not have anticipated that they needed, and make sure he was really our support person. Then we had Bridget, who also a fairly strong cyclist. She's been riding for a while and is no stranger to multi-day events, albeit this is her first bikepacking experience and self-supported multi-day experience, but she is confident and strong on her bike and definitely knows what she's doing. Then we have our friend Blair, who is a fantastic runner, but making the transition to triathlon, great swimmer, and really this is her second season of being on the bike and learning so much along the way, and she just jumped right on in on, hey, I'm down for an adventure and we'll see where things go. So that's our crew, that's our route, and that's the adventure we went on. We're about 35 miles in, and we noticed something strange happening with Blair's bike. She doesn't seem to have her full range of gears. The shift cable was very loose, so when we set off, she was able to shift and use all her gears, but that degraded over time, and she was basically stuck with losing half of her gears, which just wasn't going to work out in the long run.
And we will find a shop along the way. Make it good. It's an adventure, y'all. Let's go.
Tour, and in solidarity, we all decided to drop half of our gears as well, so we could all experience the same things together and go at it together until we made it to the bike shop. And it's a good thing we did too, because as we pull into the bike shop, turns out Bridget has one of her cables snap. So one of their mechanics was able to free himself up and start servicing those bikes immediately. Got Blair's bike back on the road, got Bridget's cable repaired.
All right, mechanical sorted. Back on the road.
We've been riding for several hours, and when we started, it was about 75 degrees with like 80% humidity, and some of that did clear up, but not nearly enough. It was hot and we were hungry. So by the time we made it into Plymouth, it felt like a great time to get off the bikes, stretch our legs a little bit, and have a proper lunch. So I did mention the homemade gel, and I gotta say that was the best decision I could have made for this trip, but nothing beats real food. The downside with real food was the next half hour, maybe 45 minutes of pedaling after that were real sluggish, and the compound fatigue really started to set in.
So, this part of our journey, you cannot ride. So we gotta take a walk over the Cape Cod Canal. Man. So far, so good? Oh, yeah. Last time.
Once we saw the sign in the horizon and we were getting closer and we saw the numbers ticking down on our bike computers, it was awesome to finally be pulling in, knowing we were done for the day and ready to take a shower.
Thank you, friend. You did it.
Arrived. My goodness, that was a time. Everyone is unloading, getting ready to clean up, figure out what we're gonna eat. But whoa, what a day! What a day!
But that was it for day one. We went about 80 miles, had an absolute blast. Day two had its own challenges, its own unexpected things going down, and I will try to get that together as fast as possible. But till then, it was such a blast. I'll see y'all next time. It's been real.